What up, Snapchat fam? How's it going, Minneapolis? Doing good? Ready to learn about Snapchat for business? All right, well, before I go ahead and kick it off, I want to say, even though I'm going to talk about Snapchat for the next 30 minutes, if you are on Twitter, be sure to follow me at CarlosGill83 and also tweet out this session. So I'm really excited to be here with all of you today. Just a little bit about myself. I am the global head of social media for BMC Software. We are an enterprise IT solutions company. I am joining you here today from San Francisco, but I'm not going to talk to you about B2B social media or about enterprise IT social media. I'm actually going to talk to you about Snapchat, which is a platform that I've been on since 2013. So I am an early adopter of Snapchat. I have worked in social media now for 8.5 years, both on the B2B and B2C side. And when I joined this platform back in 2013, I was the head of social media for a retail and grocery chain in Florida by the name of Winn-Dixie. So I just want to go ahead and preface by starting off and saying that I have not seen another social network take off and create such excitement and emotion amongst marketers and consumers since the days of AOL, back in the day. So I'm really excited about this platform. I've been on here now for 3 years. I've studied these trends. And during this presentation, what I'm going to share with you is, first of all, why should your business be on Snapchat? Okay, there's a lot of misconceptions around this platform, and I'm going to help answer some of those for you here today. Also, I'm going to talk to you about how you can immediately get started and grow your presence on Snapchat, how you can create content and leverage things like geo-filters. And most importantly, because I recognize at the end of the day, why you're all here at this conference is you want to go back to your offices or to your places of business, and you want to be able to monetize the information that you acquire here. And I recognize while Snapchat, it's the hot, shiny new object that has all the marketers excited, at the end of the day, if you're not showing an ROI in terms of dollar value that you're generating, then you're just wasting your time. So I'm going to talk to you about how to use Snapchat to convert as well. So first of all, by show of hands, how many of you in this room are on Snapchat? Look around. Give yourselves a round of applause. Really loud round of applause. And I always like to start off by asking this question because when I did work in consumer marketing a couple of years ago, I would do these talks around how to market to millennials. And Snapchat was still a relatively newer platform. And I'd be lucky if only 1 or 2 hands would go up. So now, as I go around and speak at these events around the country, it seems like the marketing and business community has caught up. They're on Snapchat. But for those of you that aren't necessarily familiar with how it works, let me just take a couple of minutes here to talk about it. First of all, Snapchat is a mobile app. It's exclusive to mobile. So you cannot create content or engage with content anywhere else upon a mobile device. It is known as a micro-content storytelling platform. I'm going to talk to you about the advantages of that as I go along here. But micro-content storytelling, the content that you create and that you consume on Snapchat is in the form of photo and video, and that content that you post disappears within 24 hours. The way I like to compare Snapchat is it's the best of Twitter meets YouTube, but better and with higher engagement. And here's where I'm going with this. I've been a big proponent and fan of Twitter since I joined back in 2009, and I've always considered Twitter to be what I refer to as the no bullshit social network. Because on Twitter, you only have 140 characters to get your point across. The flip side is on Snapchat, you only have 1 to 10 seconds with the content that you post. So you don't have a lot of time to create these long stories or create these long posts. Snapchat's actually a platform that forces marketers to go back to the drawing board and market because they are given very limited time. The other comparison to YouTube is that the majority of content created and consumed on Snapchat is in the form of video. So for anyone that's just getting started, the way that I say to newbies to look at your Snapchat for business account is look at it as a YouTube channel, so to speak. Now, why does Snapchat matter for your business? Well, first, it's in the sheer numbers. Any hip-hop rap fans here in the room? I'm a big Jay-Z fan, guys. All right, any Jay-Z fans? So Jay-Z has a saying, a quote, which is, Men lie, women lie, numbers don't. And the sheer numbers of Snapchat today are indicating this is where, if you are trying to reach 13 to 35-year-olds in the US, you have to have a presence. So let's go through the numbers. Over 200 million users are on this platform. Over 10 billion video views are consumed per day. It's the most active social network behind Facebook. So think about that for a moment. A 5-year-old social network is more active in users than Twitter, than LinkedIn, than Instagram. And with that being said, brand adoption has now exceeded the likes of Twitter and LinkedIn. So what you see here on the chart behind me are, on the left-hand side, social media brand usage. You can see how over the last few years, brands and users have flocked away from Twitter, and they're using Snapchat more actively. And why is that? Well, let's think about it. You have a high demographic of millennials that have swarmed on the Snapchat. Snapchat started as skewing as a very young audience. And those millennials, they don't want to be on Twitter. They don't want to be on Facebook. They want their content to disappear. They use Snapchat as a messaging tool. Brands, on the other hand, as you see on the right-hand side, with the active use beyond Twitter and LinkedIn, brands have realized that it's become a pay-to-play game. I'm sure a lot of you here in this room are just as frustrated like I am as a marketer that today only 1% of your audience on Facebook sees your organic content without having to spend money. And the same holds true on Twitter, and the same holds true on Instagram and on LinkedIn. So Snapchat has become this phenomenon of what it is because people are actually dialed in. They're actually paying attention to what brands and what their friends are saying. And the reason why they're paying attention is because of the fact that the content disappears. It's because of the fact that content's very short. It's easy to digest. And what have brands done over the years? And I know probably all of us in this room are guilty of this. We work with our agency partners, we work with our internal marketing teams. We want to create the best looking content. Well, Snapchat, it's not about that. It's just about being real and about having fun and creating an outside the box experience. So let's talk a little bit about millennials and why this is important for your brand. So I said before, millennials really dominate Snapchat. In fact, over 60% of Snapchat's user base in the US alone are millennials. And with that being said, on any given day, over 41% of this demographic is using Snapchat. But guys, from a sheer business standpoint, millennials are expected to outspend baby boomers by 2017, which is just right around the corner. So again, if you work at a company right now who's trying to reach buyers under the age of 35, this is an absolute must platform, even if you're in B2B. And I get asked this question a lot because my day job is in B2B, and I get a lot of B2B brands ask, well, why should we be on Snapchat if our target buyer is a C-level executive? He or she's in their 50s and 60s, most likely they're not on Snapchat. Well, guess what? Their direct reports are on Snapchat. And if you can get their attention and have conversations with them on Snapchat, you've already superseded your competitors out there. They're going to LinkedIn and they're going to Twitter to have these conversations with buyers. So I want to put this into context, guys. Based on the stats alone and the sheer volume of usage, Snapchat is no longer a sexting platform. So let me just address the elephant in the room. This is a legitimate social network for business. And I say that because you take a look at a brand like Gatorade, that this year, instead of running a Super Bowl commercial, Gatorade ran a sponsored lens on Snapchat, and they received more impressions on Snapchat than the number of people that saw the Super Bowl on TV. So think about that. You have brands, Gatorades, the McDonald's of the world, the large CPGs, they're all investing, they're all going all in on making sure that they're captivating the engaged audience that's on this platform. So Snapchat, friends, is all about taking risks and being human. So again, Snapchat is not Twitter, Snapchat is not Facebook, Snapchat is Snapchat. And one of the misconceptions that often I hear from marketers is I read these blog posts and I hear different marketers say, everything that you've learned about social media goes out the window with Snapchat. No, it doesn't. Absolutely not. Because if you're a good marketer, if you're a good social media marketer, the end game is how do you get users to consume your content and take that content, engage with your brand, and ultimately go buy from your brand. Snapchat's no different, it's just a different medium. Now, with that being said, The content that you create should always be fun or creative or informative or engaging. It should fall into one of those 4 categories. So whichever industry all of you here in this room represent, think which one of these buckets, if you will, can my content fall under? Also, because content does disappear, engagement is proven to be much higher than Facebook and Twitter and these other social networks. And why is that? Well, if you're creating content that's, again, fun, creative, informative, and engaging, now you're giving your audience a reason to actually come back. And I've had this debate at endless conferences with other brand marketers that say, well, Carlos, we've invested a lot of money in growing our Facebook and our Twitter over the years. Why would we want to post on Snapchat? The content goes away. Well, it's very simple. Are people even engaging and seeing the content that you're posting on Facebook? Okay? Gary Vaynerchuk, who I'm a big fan of, always says you have to market in the year that you live in. So while Facebook and Twitter might have been the new hot jam 3 and 4 years ago, it's not anymore, and that's a reality. So as a marketer, you have to find a way to pivot and go where your audience lives. The other advantage that Snapchat gives you is user-generated content. So by doing things like a takeover of your account, working with bloggers to do takeovers, by using things I'm going to show you like geo-filters, you can now give other users in your community an opportunity to create content centered around your brand. So real talk, guys, in the year 2016, people don't want to engage with brand logos anymore. They don't want to have conversations with a community manager. They want to engage with people. And that's exactly what Snapchat is doing to disrupt social media. I said this when I first got started. Snapchat forces marketers to market. And what do I mean by that? Well, because the content that you create can't be done with an agency necessarily. You actually have to pick up a phone and open it up and speak. It forces marketers to go outside of their comfort zone. But the brands that are doing it really well, the Coca-Colas of the world, again, the Gatorades, are finding that the balance is, instead of having a marketing team create content, or instead of having an agency create our content, we'll go out and we'll hire influencers. We'll hire bloggers. We'll hire these individuals that have storytelling skills, and they'll be a face and a representative of our brand. So again, think of Snapchat as a way that you can very easily humanize your brand content through people. So let's talk about, as you get started, keys for growing your followers. Well, the first is, I'm going to go step by step here. So the first is leveraging existing social media networks. By now, more than likely, all of you here in this room have developed a Facebook page or a Twitter account for your brand. Just because you're on Snapchat, that doesn't go away. In fact, you should be looking to leverage in parallel your existing social channels with your Snapchat. And here on the screen are a few different examples. When American Airlines launched their Snapchat account, they created a branded header image on Twitter that had a call to action to add us on Snapchat. I mentioned Gary Vaynerchuk before. I'm sure a lot of you have seen this example specifically on Twitter, myself included. A lot of users, brands and people are changing their profile photo on Twitter to their snap code. And anyone who sees a snap code on Twitter, all they need to do is pull out their phone, they can scan it, and they can add that brand or that individual on Snapchat. So it's a great way to call to action that your brand or yourself, you're on Snapchat. And it makes it easy for someone to add you. Another example is on Instagram. I've seen a lot of beauty bloggers do this, where they take their Snapchat code URL, which is, if you want to know what your Snapchat code is, you just go to snapchat.com/ad/your username. And a lot of brands and bloggers are taking that URL and putting that on their Instagram. So anyone who wants to add them on Snapchat very easily, all they have to do is just click on that link. Another tactic is influencer marketing. So influencer marketing is not new by any means. When I worked in consumer marketing at Winn-Dixie, we would work with mommy bloggers and deal bloggers all the time. Nowadays, the reason why you want to work with an influencer is because they have what's known as storytelling skills. They're able to go ahead and humanize your brand through the content that they post. An example of that is Disney. When Disney launched their Snapchat account, they hired a very prominent influencer in Mike Platko. And what Mike did was he leveraged his own personal brand to build excitement and awareness around Disney's account. He's a very good drawer, very artistic. So he started creating these sketches on his account. And what he was doing is he was driving his viewers or his followers over to Disney. And then Disney flew him out. He did a tour of the park, showed behind the scenes on their account. And again, this is a way to take someone that already has an existing following, okay, and leverage their following to grow your brand's following. Another example of a brand that does it really well is Sephora. Sephora, in my opinion, is one of the best brands that gets Snapchat. So they also do takeovers, where they have beauty bloggers take over their account. And as you can see in the example here on the screen, they have branded creative that they post on Facebook. So again, cross-promoting on other social networks. They promote these takeovers on Twitter, they promote them on Facebook, they promote them on Instagram. So that lets that social community on those networks know on this day, go to our Snapchat and see that this person's gonna be on there demoing different types of makeups, for example. What I'd like to call here, what you see in front of you, is a ninja growth hack. And this is an experiment that I did earlier this year, running a paid ad campaign on Instagram. And it's funny because we're here talking about Snapchat, but you hear me talk a lot about Facebook and about Twitter. And again, guys, just because you're on Snapchat, those mediums don't go away. In fact, what I did as a test was I ran a $50 ad campaign throughout the month of February. I targeted Facebook and Instagram users on Snapchat under the age of 30, and I spent $50. I got over 500 new followers on Snapchat. And again, this is an example of what you as a brand, if you want to grow your audience quickly, you can try running an Instagram or a Facebook campaign with your Snap code. Let's talk about keys for creating content now, because one aspect is growing, but I'll say this. You have one chance to make a lasting first impression with your Snapchat followers, and if your content's no good, then they're not gonna come back. And that's just, again, not just Snapchat, but that's other social networks. So for one, content you create should be complementary to your brand. And what do I mean by that? Well, even though this is a fun and engaging social network, it's like I said before, it's not Facebook, it's not Twitter, the content you post should still be related to your brand. What is it that you do? I see a lot of solopreneurs out there that just crush it on Snapchat, and they do really well because they use this as a medium to educate other marketers or business owners out there about things like SEO and why you need to invest in building a website, why you need to invest in things like live video. But the key is to be human and be transparent and have fun. Because if you're not doing that, people see through the noise. And like I said before, people no longer want to engage with brands and with logos, they want to engage with other people. And I'm going to share with you guys a couple of examples here on the next few slides. One, you can try going behind the scenes with your content. So let's say that you're a restaurant here in Minneapolis. You can use Snapchat to show what's on the menu tonight. You can show potentially local followers or local consumers in your market a behind the scenes tour. If you are in HR, I was speaking at an HR conference in Dallas last week, and the example I use is, if you're in HR, you can use Snapchat to build employee advocacy around your brand. You can have employees do takeovers to show what a day in the life is like. You can use Snapchat to interview your C-level executives. So if a prospective new hire is considering your company, they can now get some insight into what a day in the life is like. They can actually hear from these C-levels. So there's a lot of ways that you can use Snapchat at the very core. Even if you don't use this as a marketing medium to sell, you can still use this as a medium to humanize your brand. And the great thing is that you can save all this content that you create on Snapchat, and you can also repurpose it on Twitter and on Facebook. Let's start talking about user-generated content. So an example of that is Taco Bell. So for Valentine's Day, Taco Bell had this campaign on Snapchat. Again, Taco Bell's Snapchat presence is on point, but they are focusing, or their focus is to reach a much younger demographic. So what they did is they created this Valentine's Day card on Snapchat, and they asked their followers to screenshot and then send that Valentine's Day card to a friend of theirs on Snapchat. And then Snapchat allows you to personalize and draw over content that you send to friends. So again, this is a very inexpensive, probably free way for Taco Bell just to leverage their notoriety and their brand capital on Snapchat and get other followers to create content for them. Geo-filters. I want to spend a little bit of time talking about this because geo-filters, in fact, just by show of hands, how many of you have used a geo-filter or you're familiar with it? Okay, so for those of you in the room that are not familiar, geo-filters, as you see here on the screen, is branded overlays on Snapchat content. And the easiest way for me to explain it is that Snapchat geofilters are in-app advertising. So for as little as $5 for 4 hours, your brand can run a 20,000 square foot ad, either at your place of business, or another person's place of business. It can be at a Vikings game, a Twins game, it doesn't matter. But you can leverage geofilters to put content around your brand in front of local Snapchat users. The way I like to describe this is if you are a small business here in Minneapolis, if you are a mom and pop coffee shop, and there's a big event happening in town, and I'm gonna show you an example of that on the next slide, you can run geofilters at these events for a very small fraction of the cost of what you would pay for a Facebook ad. And you can reach local users, because the only people that will be able to see this geofilter is someone that's within the boundaries that you set. So it's a hyper-local ad. And as they create content with this geofilter that has your branding on it, other friends, neighbors, family in their Snapchat network will see it. So the example that you see here on the screen is W Hotels. W Hotels has branded geofilters at all their properties worldwide. You can see there's various sayings like, wish you were here, current situation, out of office. So this is a way, again, for W Hotels to get branded content on Snapchat that if you're at one of their properties and you're already snapping about your experience, then they can ensure that that content has the W Hotels branding in it. So let me go one step further with the value that geofilters offer. Do we have any Pokemon Go fans in here? A lot of you? Wow, I'm surprised. So Pokemon Go, as all of you I'm sure know, is this huge phenomenon. There are meetups being hosted all over the country on a daily basis. So as a very simple test, I learned that there was a meetup happening on a Sunday, 2 Sundays ago, in Chicago at the iconic Bean landmark. Over 10,000 people attended this event. Well, I ran a geofilter just for kicks as a test to see what would happen. I spent $5.97. That geofilter in a 4-hour span was used almost 800 times. And within 24 hours, the content within that geofilter was seen 214,000 times. So I spent $5.97 and I received over 200,000 real impressions of Snapchat users. So again, guys, it's the best value for your money when it comes to local advertising on social media today. Let's talk about keys for converting and how you can do it. Does anyone know who this is here on the screen? DJ Khaled. DJ Khaled, for those of you that don't know, is the most followed person on Snapchat. He receives over 3 million views per snap. He's not a marketer, he's not a brand, he's actually a DJ based in Miami that now every brand wants to work with. DJ Khaled has a commercial, in fact, with Silk, soy milk right now, that if you go on YouTube, you can actually see it, and it's cool because it takes his Snapchat content and turns it into a TV spot. The way DJ Khaled has built his notoriety on Snapchat is not by hitting people over the head with a sales offer, but it's actually by building community. So as you get ramped up and start on Snapchat, your primary goal, at least for the first 6 months, needs to be, how do I build an audience? How do I create cool content for that audience? And you need to do this to build that loyal audience and community before you start selling. Now, the next step is, how do you actually sell on Snapchat? Well, there's a couple ways you can do it. One is you can run a flash sale. And I have some examples here on the screen. In fact, one of them isn't necessarily a sale, but it's Grubhub that had a job offer or a job opportunity. Another company last week, HubSpot, ran a pop-up job fair on Snapchat. You're starting to see that as a trend. But more traditional sales tactics for flash sales, you can run a sale for 24 hours. You can announce it on Twitter. You can announce it on Facebook, and you can say, hey, we've got this exclusive product, or we have this exclusive sale. Go to Snapchat to learn more about it. In fact, a brand that recently did just that was Warby Parker, the eyeglasses company. They had an exclusive pair of glasses for their Snapchat audience for $95. And what you do as a brand is you have a custom URL, so you can do a bit.ly, /your brand /snap. And now you put this bit.ly, you overlay it as text on your snaps. So if you're hyping up these eyeglasses that are amazing and you can only get them for the next 24 hours, otherwise you miss the boat and you miss that sale, anyone that goes to that bit.ly, you can now track who went to that bit.ly. So now you actually have a way that you can measure impressions, you can measure clicks, if you will, from Snapchat over to your website. If you actually want to measure sales, then what you do is you create a coupon code. So if you have an e-com business, if anyone here has an e-com business, you create a coupon code. And you say, visit our website for today only for the next 24 hours and enter in this coupon code for 50% off or for free shipping or whatever it might be. Well, guess what? Because you're only giving away that coupon code on Snapchat, now you can measure any sales that resulted from that coupon code you can attribute to Snapchat. And again, guys, the name of the game here is to keep people coming back, give them a reason to keep coming back, but also leverage your other social networks. And again, here are some examples of how you can do just that. So as we look to go ahead and recap, couple next steps for you guys. One, Snapchat, it's not going away. So for anyone that thought, well, this is just a fad, it's gonna be here today, like potentially Pokemon Go, and it's gonna be gone in a few months, it's here to stay. So if you're sitting here right now and you're looking to, again, engage consumers between the age of 13 and 35, this is a no-brainer. If your brand, I will say this, because I get asked this question a lot, well, what if my demographic is much older? Should we still be on Snapchat? Well, I will say this, two things. One, if your audience is not on Snapchat, then you probably shouldn't do it because it is an investment of time and resources and also money potentially. However, keep an eye on reports that come out recently. ComScore reported that over 14% of Snapchat's US-based users are above the age of 35. So as you have events like this that take place in communities and you have marketers that are above the age of 35 learn about Snapchat and they jump on, the community, it's just like Facebook and Twitter in the early days. The community will continue to mature. But the key, guys, is to create engaging, fun, creative stories. Again, this is not Twitter, this is not Facebook. Actually have fun. Work with influencers, work with your employees outside of marketing to really engage them. And I always advise brands to develop a 12 to 18 month strategy. And here's where I'm going with this. In social media, whether it's Snapchat or Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn, there is no instant ROI. I should probably say without spending an enormous amount of money, there's no instant ROI in social media. You have to make your focus, how do I grow, and then engage, and then convert. And if you do that really successful, then you've really won. Thank you so much, guys. So I have my contact info on the screen. Feel free to shoot me an email. I know we're out of time. If you have any questions, I will be outside in the foyer. Otherwise, feel free to send me an email. You can add me on Snapchat at @thecarlosgill, and you can also go to my website, which is Snapchat for Business. So thanks once again, guys.